Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you at. All of that good stuff. Thank you for tuning in. This is a marvelous. Appreciate your attention because attention is something that you can't get back. I want to dedicate this video to all my Virgos out there. I figure with the topic of this video, this be a good time to kind of explain Virgo nature and its relevance in this point in time in history. And we're going to cover the Mase, murder Mase, and the killer Cam beef. I think that's a breath of fresh air, especially with the type of music that's out now. Really not my cup of tea. So to hear Mase come back after all this time with a blazing song, that's definitely a breath of fresh air. But I wanted to cover that and also cover Virgo because Mase is a Virgo. And for those that aren't too familiar with Virgos, I just want to give a brief background to Virgo energy and why it's useful, how that helped Mase in this rap battle, and how even you or myself or anyone could use Virgo energy to kind of improve their lives and kind of operate a little bit better. So Virgo nature, real quickly, outside of Aries, they also deal with war. They rule war as well. They have the longest concentration in the zodiac. They're probably the least emotional sign in terms of energy. It's not really an overall generalization. It's just what Virgo energy deals with. They're the sign of rationale. So they're the least emotional, longest concentration. They deal with rationale and logic. And they're the recluse. They're the isolationists. They can stick to themselves for a prolonged period of time and won't think twice. So these are some of the strengths of Virgo. And also, they rule the digestive system and the mouth and the gut. And if you look at how the digestive system operates, especially in tandem with the mouth, the digestive system pretty much takes what it needs and gets rid of the rest. Period. Because they also rule the anus. So Virgo is also second most selfish sign in the zodiac, because what they rule, what they represent in the digestive system is only taking the nutrients and the good stuff for the body. Anything that's not good for the body, the digestive system automatically processes out and gets rid of. Period. So that's Virgo nature. Virgos deal with necessities. If it's not necessary, then they're not going to deal with it. Period. They're not going to entertain it. They're not going to feel emotional about it. They're just going to get rid of it and get rid of you. So if you bring any kind of nonsense to a Virgo or people with Virgo in their chart, they're not trying to hear it. They're only going to deal with what's useful and what's beneficial to them. Period. So that's why I wanted to cover this rap battle with Mase and Cam, who I think Mase won. I think everything was better in terms of the song, but it just goes to show that Mase is the epitome of a Virgo, because Virgos deal with being by themselves. They're the sign that deals with being a recluse, right? That alone time, that's what they rule. They also, their sign is the Virgin. So being at one with themselves and having their space is something that they represent. And I think that shows in this battle, because Mase has been away for so long that we haven't really heard anything consistent from him. So we don't know what his skill level is. We don't know how nice he still is. We don't know what he's doing in terms of rap. So to have him come back with this fire in this song that's so hot, I think a lot of people were surprised and happy as well. But it just goes to show you that a Virgo that withdraws and has their space and sticks to themselves, they only get stronger. So it really didn't matter how long Mase was out the picture. The more he was to himself and allowed to be in his own space without people around, that's what Virgo uses. That's what they need. Virgos get stronger by being in their element and having their space and being able to recluse and isolate when they want to. Period. So it could have been 10, 20, 30 years. The fact that Mase had that time to do his thing without being deterred from public opinion, it just goes to show how much that went into this song. Also, Virgos deal with criticism. And Mase got criticized a lot for being a hypocrite, false preacher, and all of these things. But it didn't matter, because Virgos are not swayed by people's opinions, because they're a rational sign. They're very cold when it comes to that. So I think that plays out in this, and it's interesting because Camron is an Aquarius, so he's also a sign that deals with um, being immune to emotions, you know, being cold and that cold logic. So this was a battle that can get kind of real intense in terms of being non-sympathetic and hitting below the belt, because both signs, both rappers display a coldness, not just in this song but in their rap songs, that you know, is kind of unfeeling. And you can see that Cameron definitely unfeeling. His situations that he had with Jim Jones and Jewels, that's an Aquarius nature, that they're non-attached. So you can't really sway them with feelings. So this battle right here is a testament of two signs that don't deal with feelings. They just deal with straight coming at you, straight war and straight jugular. But I wanted to highlight on the Virgo aspect because what's going on now is a quiet war. And I think looking at even something mundane as this rap battle, but looking at Virgo nature, it'll help people understand how to deal with any kind of conflict or war situation. Why? Because Virgos, they're not swayed by people's opinions. They have a goal in mind, they have high concentration, and all that matters is the results. So everything else is a distraction. So Virgo also could be a sign of tunnel vision and narrow mind, because all they have in their path is what they have to achieve. Anything else is a distraction. And they have no problem cutting people off. They have no problem acting in an aggressive way if you get in their way. So that's a plus for Virgo when it comes to survival. It's a plus for anyone if you have trouble focusing. If you look around and be around Virgos, you'll understand the power of focus and having a long concentration. Because that's a sign that it could be 20 years later and a Virgo will never forget what's done to them. And they're willing to wait it out because they're Earth sign. They're willing to wait out as long as it takes. If they have to, I don't want to say get back at you, but if they have to tie up a loose end, it doesn't matter if it's 10 or 20 years. If Virgo has that much concentration to swing back and remember what you did to them. So this battle, it shows that. And I was listening to the interview he had on with Ebro, and he made a lot of good points. He said, everybody heard Cameron's opinion. I laid back, Cameron took his shots, I let it go, I turned the other cheek. I kept turning the cheek, and everybody was getting Cameron's view. And he said, when it comes to bodily harm, I just couldn't take it anymore. I felt threatened, so as a man, he had to stand up. And he scorched Cam, period. The track Oracle is crazy. So it just goes to show you that the power of Virgo is the ability to sit back and wait. It doesn't matter how long you wait sometimes, it matters how you strike. And sometimes you could wait so long, but your strike is so efficient, because Virgos deal with efficiency, that all it takes is one move and you could make up for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So that's the power of Virgo, and I wanted to highlight that. In this time, what's going on, Virgo is a good energy to adopt in your ability to not get swayed by social media, timelines, because everything you see can sway you this way, sway you that way every 5 seconds, because there's so much stimulus going on that focus is a commodity. Concentration is a commodity. So using Virgo energy in understanding criticism, because Virgo rules criticism, only dealing with things that's beneficial to you, and getting rid of everything that is not beneficial to you. Might seem extreme, but that's just how your body operates. Can you imagine if your body took in things that it didn't need? And when that happens, they call it cancer, they call it disease, they call it sickness. That's basically what happens when your body cannot get rid of things that it does not need, right? That's the power of Virgo, is filtering, right? Virgo is a sign of discrimination. Virgo rules discrimination. So if you have a problem in your life with understanding who's beneficial to you, or who should be around, or what circumstances you should participate in, study Virgo nature to understand how to properly discriminate. And I think that is very helpful in this day and time when there's so much distractions, so much information, it's hard to know what's true, what's fake. That power of discrimination that Virgos possess is important. So this battle, it shows that. It shows that waiting and not hopping on everything that comes at you might be the best way, because ultimately you'll win the war, because Virgos rule war. Aries rules war through the planet Mars, and that's what they're attributed to on the face. But in terms of attributes of war, it's Virgo, with the concentration, with the aggression, with the violence. Virgo is an aggressive, violent sign, primarily with the males, and they tend to harness that in a concentrated way. So if you push them, there's no limits. And in the interview with Ebro, Mase also said, look, this is war. There's no fairness in war. So Virgos don't deal with fairness. It doesn't mean that they can take advantage, because they have that selfish streak, but they could also be given when it comes to materials at points. But he said there's no fairness in war. Nothing is off limits. That is a Virgo attribute. So in dealing with Virgos and looking at this battle, you'll see that Mase left nothing off the table. He justified it with rationale and said, I waited time and time again. I let things slide, and I didn't speak, and I had to stand up and squash it. And he did a pretty good job. He also mentioned something which I wanted to cover about narratives. He said all this time everyone was buying into Camron's narrative of what the truth was. So everyone was looking at Mase through Camron's eyes. And that's a power of Aquarius, because Aquarius deals with being out in the community, right? They are a sign that has to deal with higher causes and the world, right? So I'm not saying that I haven't heard Cam promote a higher cause, but in terms of dealing with the people, Aquarians are masters at that. They know how to get in with the people, and that's their strength. If you see Cam on Instagram and things of that nature, he's a comedian. He's a freaking hilarious, and everyone gravitates to his outside of rap endeavors more so than his raps. That's just Aquarian nature. Anything to do with the people and the masses, that's their nature. So that's his element. So Cam has taken this approach towards Mase in an Aquarius fashion and always taking it to the public. Virgos are a private sign. They don't deal with that. They deal with one-on-one. They're the individual, right? They're the last sign of the zodiac that represents the internal or inside signs, meaning that the first 6 signs of the zodiac deal with the individual. The last 6 signs deal with the public, right? So from Aries to Virgo, that deals with individual lessons. From Libra to Pisces, that deals with worldly, external, communal lessons. So Virgo is the ultimate sign of the individual, because it ends it. Aquarius is pretty much the ultimate sign of the masses, because they deal with disseminating the higher good and making everyone acceptable and on an equal level. And it's no coincidence that Mase, I believe he has Moon in Aquarius, so he also understands the importance of managing the people, right? He just doesn't do it as much because that Virgo is very to himself. So that's why I wanted to touch on that, because I think this battle is a testament of 2 non-emotional individuals, and it'll be a good test to see who shows emotion first. And so far, they're both pretty much calm, cool, and collected. But if it continues, it'll be good to see who breaks in terms of their cold nature, because Aquarians deal with non-attachment, cold logic, and Virgos deal with high rationale. They also one of the 2 signs that rule communication. So Virgos know how to communicate a message efficiently. So this is Mace's element. He had enough time. He was to himself. He was out the limelight. He was reclusive, right? And he understood the importance of narrative. That's what I wanted to touch on. The name of the game now is who controls the narrative. So when you see the media and you see events, events are promoted to us in a certain way, right? Whether it's police shootings, whether it's terror attacks, understand that these things happen on a regular basis. This country has high levels of gun violence. There's tons of terror attacks, not just the ones you see on TV. Police get injured. They injure constantly. But it's what the media decides to show us is what we focus on. And the media deliberately chooses what to focus on because it all goes into a narrative. And the narrative that's told to us is the narrative that we buy into, so we can manage ourselves and control ourselves to be dominated by individuals with power. That's the name of the game now, is what narrative are you promoting in your personal life, and what narrative are you taking in to govern your belief system, which governs your actions. So whoever controls the narrative, or whatever narrative you feed yourself or buy into, is going to dictate your path in life. So when Mase said, I had to speak up and control the narrative, I thought that was very insightful, because he touched on the pulse of what's going on in 2017. The name of the game strictly is about narrative. Whatever picture can be painted for people to believe, if more people believe the same narrative and the same picture, then it's easier for a mass of people to be herded. And once they're herded and collected together based on their ideology, the control is already set, because you control yourself and you follow an agenda that's put in place by individuals that constantly manipulate your perception. So narrative is important. So it's important to constantly take inventory of what narrative that you're believing in. Memes and cliches, and these are all extensions of narratives. Even the cliches that we buy into, like money is the root of all evil. That's an incorrect statement that's misquoted from a book. It doesn't say that. It's for the love of money is the root of all evil. But these are examples of narratives, cliches, and memes that are passed down and disseminated throughout the masses, throughout generations, and amongst ourselves, that we constantly repeat without dissecting and discriminating, which is a Virgo thing. So we definitely need to intake and partake and disseminate more Virgo energy. We need to definitely embody more Virgo attributes in order for us to properly discriminate things that have been handed down to us through tradition or through the public that we think are true. If we can use this Virgo energy and to discriminate, criticize, critique, be a little bit more narrow-minded, more focused, higher concentration, and more aggressive towards things that's put towards us, it will make for higher concentrated people, and it would make us more efficient. So this is just a rap battle, but I think with Mase's interview and the response that he's getting is a testament of what happens when a person embodies their sign, or when you be yourself. Right now, you have Instagram and all of these things where people, they're being themselves in one aspect, and that's vanity. But when that happens, the dark side is cast, and things that you try to hide, always looking 100%, comes out in secret. Just like everything is happening in the media with these individuals in Hollywood that had all this dark stuff that's in secret, now it's coming out to light. So using Virgo energy, you can actually avoid your dark spots coming into light, or work on your dark spots by actually being an inspector of your narrative that's being fed to you, and actually creating your own narrative, because that's the name of the game. No longer is it good enough to accept narratives that's placed upon you. It's better to create your own narrative. Who said what you come up with is incorrect, even if it's not accepted by the masses? So when Mase said that, he had a valid point. He said the only thing that you get about me and what I went through was from Camron. And this has been happening for years, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. People have gotten what they got from Mase from Camron's perception. So he finally decided to step up and decide to promote his own narrative, and it worked for him. So he is a typical example of what happens when you be yourself and you embody the sign that you was born under. You actually transcend that, and you actually have a bigger impact. Who knows what'll come from him coming out and promoting his own narrative. He might blow up even more. Take two. So that's important. So whatever sign you are, understand what energy it is and be that sign. Regardless of the friction, it's going to come out and it's going to be beneficial, as you see in this battle. Also, what's a coincidence is that their charts, Camron and Mase, if their birthdays are correct, seem to have similar charts, right? Mase has Moon in Aquarius. Camron is in Aquarius. They both have Mars in Gemini. They both have Earth Mercury's, right? But their Venus is a difference, which means how they interact in their relationship is completely opposite. Cam got Venus in Capricorn. Mase has Venus in Cancer. So what does that mean? In relationships and friendships, Cam might be a little bit more colder in the sense that it might be like a business type of interaction. Anything outside of what needs to be done and steps that need to be taken in order to build something, Cam might be cold. Where Mase and his friendships and relationships might be a little bit more family oriented, a little bit more nurturing and sympathetic. Now, I don't know these individuals, but based on that, that could be a core difference between them. But other than that, they have a lot of overlapping similarities to where they could both be cold. And Mace's Moon in Aquarius, his emotions are also detached, but he also understands the importance of being out in the public and catering and seeing what the public has. So this battle is very interesting. I wanted to make this video. But to sum it up, Virgo nature, highest concentration, they deal with war, right? So if you feel you're at war, I definitely suggest getting into Virgo mode and locking in. They're definitely the most selfish. They deal with the digestive system. Take what you need, get rid of what you don't. I think that's the biggest lesson. And control your narrative. The narrative that you promote is most important. The narrative that you take in is most important. And you can constantly update and upgrade your narrative because it's yours. It's your book of life. And it's a story that you're constantly in charge of writing. So don't let anybody else write it. With that, peace. Until the next video.